This is a CBS News special report. I'm Charlie Rose in New York. We are learning new information about the Boston Marathon bombing suspects. One is dead, the other's on the loose. Bob Orr is in Washington. Bob, good morning.
Good morning, Charlie. Well, it turns out now that the FBI believes that this bombing attack in Boston has an international component. We are being told by law enforcement sources that the two suspects are legal permanent U.S. residents who seem to come from either Turkey or the region of Chechnya. We don't have names confirmed yet, so I'm going to hold back for a minute on that. But we're told that these two men have lived here for more than a year. The man in the white hat there is still on the loose. The man in the dark hat to his right, or to his left on screen right here, has been killed overnight in police activity around Watertown, Massachusetts. This is a dramatic development, Charlie, because this now opens up a lot of possible scenarios. And it seems to indicate that this plot, which for a while to us looked like perhaps a lone wolf, domestic, homegrown type plot, may have had its origins overseas. Once you open that can of worms, it could bring in any number of suspects through all kinds of radical groups, which John Miller could tell you all about. Charlie?
Bob Orr, thank you. Do we know anything about the organization they came from or whether they're associated with anybody?
We don't. They've been here a year, as Bob said. The idea that they've had military training comes from some intelligence information, but also from the tactics they've used throughout the night against police. These are not amateurs when it comes to the tactics of an armed confrontation.
They just said they were dropping explosions when they were being chased and that kind of thing.
So let's go through that scenario if we can. Last night, what you have is the MIT police respond to an incident, a suspicious person, and these guys engage the officer. He's shot multiple times in the head. He's executed. There's a gas station robbery that follows that. At the gas station robbery, there's a carjacking. Police are now in a chase with the carjacked vehicle with the two suspects inside. In the chase, the suspects are throwing explosives out the window of the speeding car. That ends at an intersection in Watertown. So this chase is going on for a while. The suspects come out, engage the police in a firefight, and they are throwing more explosives at that time. One of the suspects is killed there. Another one, the man we know as suspect number 2 in the white baseball cap, flees. From that point, they go into a tactical mode, going 20 blocks out in every direction from that white Mercedes, the car they dumped after the carjacking. Now, there's a possibility, Charlie, that white baseball cap suspect number 2 carjacks a second car and gets a short distance. But they've got that 20-block perimeter, and they have that lockdown, and they are going street by street, house by house, telling people to stay in their houses, conducting those searches, and listening very carefully to the calls coming in and sightings within that perimeter. They feel they have this individual locked down in there, and they're going to search that perimeter until they either have him or can eliminate the fact that he's in there.
And they assume he's within the perimeter, as you suggest.
They do. And, you know, this is unfolding very quickly. I always say this, so let me throw this marker down now. This information is moving quickly. It is likely to crystallize later. Some of this may change, but that is the basic chronology we have in terms of what happened last night and how it brought us to this moment here.
Do you have anything to add to what Bob said as to who they were, where they came from, and how long they might have been planning this particular Boston Marathon assault?
It appears they've been here a year. Without getting into the specific country right now for a couple of different reasons. Both of them are from the Balkans. It appears that they have military training, but the question is, did that military training come from having been in some nations' military, or is it more likely that they trained in one of the camps overseas that trains people in these tactics to go up against their enemies?
Let me go back to Washington. Bob?
Yes, Charlie, this is coming to me kind of quickly here, so bear with me, but we have now confirmed through law enforcement sources that the two men involved are brothers. One is 19 years old, one is 20 years old, and we have one name that's confirmed, and it's a little complicated, but I believe it is Dzhokhar Tsarnaev. Dzhokhar Tsarnaev. And the last name, let me just spell it. I know that's unconventional for television, but it's Tsarnaev. We believe that these two brothers are legal permanent residents of the U.S. The last known address we have for Dzhokhar Tsarnaev is Cambridge, Massachusetts, 19 years old. We're told, we don't know a great deal, but we're told they were not here as students. We're not sure when they came here or what the condition of their legal status is up to now, but they were on nobody's radar as far as we know before those bombs went off the other day. We'll know more about that as the FBI, now chasing back through the names, Charlie, can tell us if they ever came across these guys in any fashion.
Any information, Bob, that you have heard this morning that they may have connections to anyone else here? Anyone else may be part of their relationships?
Well, I think you have to worry about that now. I mean, this was a plot that was so carefully conceived and so expertly carried out in terms of maintaining the secret. It would seem to suggest that's a fairly small cell. At the same time, you know, anybody that's capable of doing that is also capable of having associates and co-conspirators. And we don't know where they were prior to the bombing or where they were even prior to servicing last night around MIT in Watertown. But it's not a bad bet to think there might be some kind of safe harbor for the one guy that's still on the lam. He may have known where he could go to, and provided that's inside that perimeter John talked about, he may be holed up somewhere. I think it's a pretty good bet that he's not going anywhere by way of public transportation, buses, trains, or otherwise, because his picture is now the most famous picture in the world.
Yeah, I don't want to get beyond what we know, but I mean, there's a sense that, is there a sense that they could not have done this without some kind of help beyond the two of them?
No, I don't think we know that. I mean, I think that these bombs were fairly rudimentary. They could be easily constructed and carried by two people. So nothing in the evidence says they had to have help. But, you know, we're talking now about people with some training, some tactical expertise. They may have, well, we know they have some foreign connections just by place of birth. So they may have some kind of connection somewhere. So I don't think it tells us one way or the other, but it's certainly an open question, Charlie.
Nor do we know why they stayed in the area and what happened to them between the time of the bombing attack and last night's events. The investigation continues. One of the questions that always arises is what more do we know about their connection overseas? I asked John that earlier. Any idea of what they might have, who they might have been connected to?
I'm going to give you the honest answer. I really have no idea, but I know now that with a name, the FBI will be able to run that through a number of channels, and they'll be looking at all the usual suspects. I mean, you know, they come from an area that, frankly, has had a lot of experience with various terror groups, and the Chechen region has been notorious for years, as you know, Charlie. Yeah. So I think that there's a lot of potential suspects here, and there's a chance this could get a lot bigger in terms of planning, conspirators, and plot.
Thank you very much, Bob Orr. Thank you, John Miller. We will have much, much more on this story in just a moment on CBS This Morning. We go right now back to programming.
For news 24 hours a day, go to CBSNews.com.